You're listening to the Life with Old Dogs podcast, and I'm your host, Dawn Mimnaugh, primary caretaker of all of our wonderful senior German Shepherds right here at Woody's Place Senior German Shepherd Sanctuary. Hey there, and welcome back to Season 6 of Life with Old Dogs podcast. I cannot believe it's Season 6 already. I'm trying to figure out where the first 5 seasons went. It's a little over a year now since I've been doing this podcast. The Life with Old Dogs trademark has finally been finalized. It's been a little over a year for that, but super, super exciting. And if you're listening, I want to thank you for listening. If you've listened to the other previous seasons, thank you so much. I would ask that if you like this podcast, I would ask for you to share it with those that you think may glean some information from it. If they have older dogs, even if they're not older German Shepherds, if they're just older dogs in general. Please share this with people that you know that have older dogs, older German Shepherds, dogs in general, so we can grow as a community and help more dogs and dog parents with information that they may find useful to help in helping their dog live the best life they could possibly live for as long as possible, because that's our goal here. All right, that being said, This season it's been coming. It's not something that I actually look forward to talking about, but it's a necessity, and it's about euthanasia. That's what season 6 is about. So, backing up a little bit here. During season 4, I had a little bit of trouble. We went over the 20 most common health issues in older German Shepherds. And I had a little trouble with that season because I actually just got depressed because it just was tough. It was just tough because, when you're talking about things like degenerative myelopathy, megaesophagus, cancer, kidney failure, all that stuff, and the end result is going to be death and euthanasia. It's just not a bright and chipper topic to be talking about. And I found myself toward the end there, because that season went on for quite some time. I found myself just getting really depressed, and I kind of felt like the Grim Reaper after a while. Nobody wanted to be friends with me. That's for sure, because I just sounded so doomy and gloomy. But again, it was a necessary evil. These things have to be talked about. And it's the same thing with euthanasia. So this season, of course, is not going to be nearly as long as season number 4. But, we're gonna have a season of it anyway. And it's something that we need to talk about. So I get asked quite a few questions, whether it be through email, text message, private message on social media, or in comment sections on social media. Sometimes some of you see me out and about in the community and stop and we talk, and questions come up that you want to ask me about caring for older German Shepherds. And some of them are really great questions. One of the biggest questions that comes up, or the question that comes up most frequently, is, how do I know when it's time to say goodbye? And that's a great question. It really is. So I decided to make a whole season out of the topic of euthanasia, and hoping to give you as much information as you can, to give you a better idea of when is it time to say goodbye. And let me just say right off the bat, it's kind of a slippery question, because it's different for every dog. It's different for every dog owner. and when I say that, what I mean is, let's just say we have a degenerative myelopathy older German Shepherd. All right, and he's not doing so great. He's laying on his bed a lot. The only way he can really get up off of his bed is if you help him with hopefully a harness. And I love the Blue Dog Help 'em Up harnesses. They're fantastic, but hopefully with a harness. And you get him up, and as you're getting him up, he defecates on the floor, and he doesn't even realize he's defecating on the floor. And you try to get him outside so he can urinate outside, and you manage to get him outside, and it's not easy because German Shepherds are big dogs. And I don't know if you're a small woman like me. I'm petite. I'm only 5'2", or if you're a big guy who's 6'2" and can handle this dog no problem, and you manage to get your dog into the wheelchair, get him outside, and then he's able to go out there and relieve himself. And you're out there and you're with him for a little while, and he's walking around and he's doing his thing, but he's struggling a little bit, and he's maybe panting a lot more than he used to be, or he can't go as far as he used to because maybe the strength in his front end is diminishing, and he can't pull himself around in the wheelchair the best that he could. Anyway, so I'm painting this picture of this older German Shepherd who clearly, his quality of life is slipping away. So how do you know? How do you know when it's time for him, to take him to the Rainbow Bridge? How do you know when it's time to help him across the Rainbow Bridge and give him peace and, free him from the prison that has, his body that has now become a prison? Some people may say that's it. When he starts pooping on his pillow or his bed and he doesn't even know he's going, that's when it's time. And those people may have a legitimate reason. Like, everybody has to pick certain markers. And when their dog can't reach those markers anymore, then it's time. But those markers are different for everybody. So for me, if I had a DM dog and he was defecating on his pillow, but he was still eating and he could get in his wheelchair and, take our walks with us, or take, a decent walk or whatever. He still wanted to play. He still wanted to engage. He still had front end strength. That to me would not be a reason for euthanasia. But there are people that is one of their markers. And that's when they say it's time. And, who am I to say whether that's the right way to go or not? I mean, I'm nobody. And when it comes to things like that, I mean, your vet, they kind of shy away from stuff like that too, because again, it all comes down to, what do you feel is the best solution, and when is it time? All right, let's use another example. Let's say you have an older German Shepherd and he has arthritis and he has pannus scarred eye. So his vision is impaired, okay? And he has arthritis. Now you're getting him his drops for the eyes. So even though he has trouble seeing and he's not really, as sharp as he used to be, he still can manage to get around the house as long as you don't change up the lay of the floor, the furniture and all that stuff. I meant the floor plan, the furniture, you're not moving anything. He can still figure out his way around, no problem. Maybe he's got some aches and pains. So you have him on a high quality CBD oil like Dr. Hemp Dog. You went and you got him green lipped mussel to help with omega-3s. We love Antinol. That stuff is amazing. Maybe he needs a brace or two. Maybe his elbows are blown out. So you go to Balto USA and you get him some really nice elbow braces to help him along. But he's just not lighting the world on fire like he used to. And sometimes you still find that he's whimpering on his bed, and he's just not as chipper and as vibrant as he used to be. Again, some people may be looking at this dog. Let's just say he's like 11 or 12. He's not running any marathons anymore. Maybe the pain is so great that it's affected his appetite. Maybe you've gone to the vet and you've gotten him put on some NSAIDs or painkillers, Rimadyl and Tramadol and stuff like that. And you're to the point where you're just not sure because he's on everything that he could possibly be on. You take him to therapy, maybe hydrotherapy, laser therapy, massage, acupuncture, and he still just doesn't seem to be doing so great. Well, again, I'm going to say to anyone who would wonder whether it was time to say goodbye or not, you need to set markers. All right. And I know there's people that say, oh, pick 3 things, when they stop eating, that's when it's time. Well, I mean, listen, sometimes like Brandy, she's 15 years old. Sometimes she doesn't want anything to do with her breakfast, but then she gobbles down her dinner. Sometimes she gobbles down food, both meals and lunch treats in one day, and then the next day she doesn't want anything. So if they have lack of appetite and it's sporadic, that's not a reason to say goodbye. But if it's going on day after day after day, I mean, you're having to jump through hoops just to get them to eat anything, then yeah, maybe the pain is so great that they can't think of anything else but that pain. Maybe then it is time to say goodbye. But again, you have to set markers, and you have to know your dog. And you have to have the courage to make that decision. So one thing that I find is that, of course, we love our older German Shepherds. I mean, most people I know love their older German Shepherds, and they want what's best for them. But when it comes to saying goodbye, that also means it's really going to hurt us too, right? It's like a knife to the heart. It really is. It's, for some people, there is no greater pain. There's no greater loss than losing their best fur friend. Not that family's not important, but some people, their family is small. Maybe they don't live near their family. Maybe their family's all passed away. Maybe they have a tumultuous relationship with their family, and their dog is their family, or their dogs are their family. So when it comes time to saying goodbye, there could be no greater pain for some people. And I get that, because some of my greatest, losses have been a 4-legged furry friend, really. So it's hard because you're going to be letting them go, and it's hard because you're going to be the one taking them to walk them to the Rainbow Bridge. And when I say that, basically you're going to be there in the examining room with them, or in your living room on the floor if you have an in-home vet that can come in to do euthanasia. And you're going to be going through that process of watching them, get the IV administered where they get the medication to make them sleepy and sedated, and then the phenobarbital injection to actually stop their heart from beating. So you're going to be there with them for the whole thing. And it is, well, you should be anyway. I would implore you to be there, please, because they need you. They need you during that time. That they need you the most during that time. And that's the time when we have to put our own feelings aside and put them first, which we should be doing anyway, but that's, it's imperative. So what I've seen with people who are well-meaning, very loving dog parents is they kind of have a tendency to hang on too long. They go past the point that it's really not fair to their older German Shepherd. Their older German Shepherd is really suffering at this point, and they just can't seem to pull that trigger because they're afraid to. I'm sorry about that, saying pull the trigger. That was terrible. But I meant go through, say, okay, now it's time, because they're just so emotional and torn up and conflicted, because obviously they want their best friend, their dog, and they're going to have to be the one to say, okay, I have to let you go now. And I've been there. I've been there more times than I care to remember, really. I mean, not only have I had to say goodbye to my own dogs in my personal life, but just about every Woody's Place dog, except for one who crossed the rainbow bridge with his foster mom. All the rest I've done, and I've even walked other people's dogs, not even part of the sanctuary, friends, former friend, I should say, who couldn't do it herself, and I did for her. And it's hard. It really is. But it is a necessity. And if you are going to commit to bringing a German Shepherd, a dog, into your life, you are going to have to make that commitment to be there for them their whole life through their last breath. All right. So if there was something I could tell every dog owner, potential dog owner, from the very, very beginning, when they're looking at this cute little fluffy puppy, whether it be a German Shepherd or not, or whether they decide they're going to adopt this dog at the shelter who desperately needs a home, it would be that. Okay, what you're signing up here for is you're signing up for unconditional love, and you're signing up for a great relationship with a four-legged friend, but you're also signing up for a lifetime commitment through better and worse, thick and thin, and through their last breath. That means you don't walk away at the very end when they're feeble and basically slipping, their life is slipping away. They need you to be there with them through that last breath. Even though you're going to be there and probably ugly crying. I do every single time, ugly crying. And I think I mentioned this before, and Mr. Woody's Place said to me one time, this was a couple years back, several years back, he said, "Are you going to do this every time, one of the Woody's Place dogs pass away?" And I said, "I am." I said, "I'm going to ugly cry every single time. And then I'm going to put my big girl pants back on, and I'm going to go back out there and save another." It's part of the process. And there's nothing wrong with grieving. Grieving is a healthy thing to do. Hey there, folks. This week's episode is being sponsored by The Shepherd Shop. The Shepherd Shop sells German Shepherd and dog-related merchandise, as well as our one-of-a-kind Woody's Place merchandise, with proceeds supporting Woody's Place Senior German Shepherd Sanctuary. So to check out The Shepherd Shop and support the sanctuary, head on over to www.wpsgss.org/shepherd shop. That's SHEPHERDSHOPPE. And now, back to our episode. If you didn't grieve, that would be a problem. In my eyes, okay? There's no shame in grieving. There's no shame in crying. There's no shame in being emotional. There's no shame in not being able to go to work the next day or the day after that. In fact, I think every company should have some sort of allowance for a person to take time off from work after their dog or cat, whatever companion animal they have, after their companion animal passes away. I think everyone should be able to take a few days to process what is happening and sort of, begin to work their way through the new norm after their best friend is now gone and not in the household anymore, because it can be traumatic. Now, I know other people who can just go through it like, oh, I did everything, that's that. And yeah, I'm good. And I'm just going to, start living my life again, and great for them. Again, everybody processes euthanasia differently. So however you do is fine, because there is no right or wrong way. But I will say this, if it goes on for too long, if you find that you're really having a tough time putting the pieces of your life back together after you went through a euthanasia with your old German Shepherd or dog or companion animal, whatever the case may be, and you're really struggling. And I'm talking like, it's 4, 5, 6 weeks later now, maybe even 3 months later, and you are really depressed. You just can't seem to, make it through the day without crying. then I would strongly suggest reaching out to a counselor. And there are pet grief counselors out there that you can talk with and share your feelings with, or even just a regular counselor and share your feelings with, to process through those feelings. Because even though grieving the loss of one of our fur friends is I don't want to say it's normal, but it does happen. It does happen every day, really. Um, we can get stuck. We can get stuck, especially if our companion animal is our whole world. Again, there are people that I know who maybe they were an only child, all right, and they didn't have really any aunts and uncles or anything like that, and now they find themselves in their 60s or even 70s, and their parents have passed away, and maybe they didn't have any children of their own or whatever, and their pets are their whole lives. It is really, really hard. And for some people, I get it. It's hard to even picture that. Well, like, why are you so upset? Why are you this upset about your dog passing away or whatever? Just go get another dog. Well, that is like one of the most hurtful things that you can say to someone who has poured their heart and soul into their dog or into their cat, and truly was an exemplary pet owner. I mean, there every step of the way, gave that dog or cat the best life they could possibly have, enjoyed every minute of it, and and then they're forced to say goodbye because their dog or cat's body is just failing them in the worst way, and they've swallowed that giant horse pill and picked up the phone and called to make that appointment to say goodbye, and then here they are now by themselves, grieving, and they can't move forward, they can't go backwards, but they're stuck basically in this horrific pattern of grief. And like I said, one of the worst things you could say to someone in that situation is, oh, it was just a dog, or it was just a cat, and their shelter's full, go get another. Well, you know what? Eventually, that person probably will get to the point where they will be able to allow another fur friend into their life and straight into their heart. But it's just not that easy. It's not that easy for everybody, because even though a new dog or cat will find its way into their heart, it's not going to replace the dog or cat that they had to say goodbye to. No, nothing will. And for people who aren't as into dogs and cats, they don't understand it. They simply don't understand the connection and the love that someone could have for a dog or cat, and that hurt that they feel when that dog or cat has passed away. And I don't expect everybody to understand that. And as a dog or cat parent, you can't expect everybody else to understand that either. But that doesn't mean that you should do anything differently than what you're doing or what you're feeling. You need to obviously feel what it is that you're feeling when you have to say goodbye to your dog or cat. And there, like I said, there's no right or wrong. Everybody's unique, and everybody has to go through the grief process their own way and in their own time. So getting back to how do you know it's time? All right, well, I'm going to use Brandy as an example. Brandy is just a few days away from her 15th birthday, and I'm pretty sure she's going to make it to her 15th birthday. I did not even think she was going to make it to Christmas. She is here. She is actually literally right here at my desk, and she's on her bed, and she just lifted her head up and looked at me because I said her name. So I'm going to use her as an example. There were a few times over the last couple of months that I thought it was time to say goodbye, but she managed to get out of the funk that she was in and start to have more good days than bad days. That being said, She has definitely lost weight. She's probably down about 8 to 10 pounds, which is a lot for her because she was only 66 pounds. So she's definitely lost weight. Her eyes are more clouded over, so she has trouble seeing. She has trouble hearing. So if she's outside with us and she's not right next to me and I call her, she won't hear me. I have to walk right up to her. And then if I tap on her to say, hey, I'm here, come with us, I startle her because she doesn't really see me either. She has doggy dementia, canine cognitive disease. So she gets confused. She gets turned around. There are literally times when we're outside and she's just walking in circles instead of walking forward. And I have to go help her and, straighten her out, so to speak. And then I just walk right next to her and she does okay as long as I'm walking right next to her. She sundowns. So what she's doing is she's trying to sleep a lot during the day and then she's up at night. And she's pacing and panting and all that stuff. So then I end up having to go get her wherever she is. And I put her in the room with me and I shut the door and her bed's right next to my bed. And I can literally, put my hand on her and touch her. And that, helps her. That centers her and that helps her. She has cat friends. Brandy loves the cats here at the sanctuary. And the youngest cat, he's an older kitten. He's 8 months old and he loves Brandy. He's been here since he was 1 week old and he just loves Brandy. I don't know if it's because she lays down on the bed a lot and she's super fluffy, but she's like his surrogate mom and he wants to be with Brandy. So it's perfect. It really is. I mean, here was this like orphaned little 1 week old kitten who needed a mom. And of course, we helped him with everything he needed. But Brandy basically stood in for his mom. She, was that comfort that he was looking for. And she takes comfort in him. Like she likes him being on the bed. She'll start to lick him and, just cuddle with him and stuff like that. So it's perfect. And it helps her. Let's see what else. Feeding can be hard with Brandy. I have to puree her food. She cannot eat like crunchy food anymore. She loves Good Dog Buddy cookies. They're locally made and she loves them, but they're crunchy. So I basically have to crunch them up. Not to the point that they're powder, but I have to crunch them up into small pieces so she can eat them. And any crunchy food that she gets, I end up like pulverizing. So I have a food processor and I end up pulverizing it. She doesn't get a whole lot of hard food anymore, but even like the home cooked food that I give her, she just has trouble eating. And I puree it. I puree her food, and then I have it's a small silicone spoon, like serving spoon. So it's bigger than a tablespoon, but not as big as like a, spoon that you would use to stir something in a stew pot. It's not that big. And it's silicone. So I literally feed her off of that because Brandy has a lot of arthritis and it's hard she doesn't eat out of a bowl anymore. She hasn't eaten out of a bowl for like half a year now. And I put her pureed food in a bowl, like a human feeding bowl, and like that you would eat cereal out of. And I feed her off of the silicone spoon, and that's how she eats. So she's not having to like lower her head a whole lot because it seems to hurt her to lower her head. And this way she's just eating at, eye level, and that helps her. But there are some times where I am on, Mr. Woody's place can vouch for this, I am on my hands and knees, crawling around on the floor, trying to feed Brandy because she's up walking around, circling around or whatever, just like totally out of sorts. And I can't feed her. And then she's fine. And it's almost like she has some sort of an episode and then she's fine again. Then there was a long stretch of time where she wouldn't go out to walk with us. And then one time I was out there with the dogs and the next thing I know, there she is behind me. and she's walking. And ever since then, she has been out just about every single time since then, walking with us. Now, I mean, she's not quick. She's wobbly. She needs a little help. She needs redirection, and she's slow. She's very slow, but she is making it around with us on our long walks. She's even walking in the woods with us. Now, sometimes she'll just stand there like at the mouth of the woods, and we'll go down the trail. I can see her the whole time because there's no leaves on the trees or anything, and she just stands there. Sometimes she comes in a little bit. Sometimes she'll come around with us, but wherever she is, I have eyes on her, and she does whatever it is that she can do, and then she walks back to the house with us. So, is it time for Brandy? No, it's not. The other thing is she's peeing on her bed. Every night she pees on her bed. I have reusable mats on the bed. I have adult doggy diapers. She can't stand the adult dog diapers. She freaks out. I mean, just full on freak out. She won't lay down. She's panting excessively. Her eyes are widened. She just does not know what that is, and she doesn't like it. So I have reusable doggy pee mats. I lay them on her bed. Sometimes she rumples them up and she ends up peeing on the blanket on her bed because I always put blankets on their beds. And I end up doing wash. I do a lot of wash. I do at least 1 to 2 loads of wash a day for dog blankets and stuff like that. So she is peeing regularly on her bed. She is also getting to the point now where she really can't make it out the back door first thing in the morning to go to the bathroom. And the reason for this is because when our dogs get older, they lose sensation, and they're trying to make it out the door, but by the time they realize they have to go pee, it's could be a little too late. And that's been the situation for Brandy here. So she's not making it out the door every time. Sometimes, like last week, she goes outside, she goes to the bathroom, or she thinks she's going to the bathroom, and then she comes back in, and she has to go through the kitchen to get to the living room, and she's pooping along the way, all through the kitchen. And honest to God, it was Atticus, Savvy, and Nona all got up and ran out of the room. Brandy just poop walked through the kitchen, and they all smelled it like, you gotta be kidding me. And they all ran out of the room, all 3 of them, and left me to deal with it. But so yeah, she doesn't quite get it right now. But is it time? For some people, it may be. For some people, it may be time. This may be one of their markers. Listen, when they start having frequent accidents in the house, it's time. When I have to puree their food, it's time. When they don't know where they are without extra assistance, it's time. In my mind, I'm not exactly there just yet with Brandy because she does have good days too. And she has an appetite. I mean, regularly, there are some days she's not wanting to eat so much, but even if she doesn't want to eat the food that I'm giving her, she has no problem whatsoever scarfing down the cat's food. None. So I'm not there just yet, but does that mean that I might not be there 2 weeks from now? I may. It depends, because it's definitely not getting any better, but we're not to the point in my mind. I have not reached the markers yet in my mind that it's time to say goodbye to Brandy. But my markers, because of what I do with Life with Old Dogs, my markers are probably higher than most because I'm used to dealing with old dogs and all that comes with that. I mean, I'm used to cleaning up accidents. I'm used to having a dog that may have trouble eating. I'm used to having a dog that may get turned around a little bit because they're not exactly sure what's going on, but then they're fine after that. I am used to these things and I'm capable of dealing with them. But for someone who isn't, in their mind, it may be time, and it is time. And they go through with saying goodbye. And there's nothing wrong with that, because listen, folks, at the end of the day, if you have a dog that's like Brandy, 15 years old, and she's having these troubles, and it's not going to get any better. It's not going to get any better. And I've said this for years now. It's better to say goodbye a day too soon than a day too late. It really is. All right. So that's all I'm going to cover for now. But that is the number one question that I get asked most frequently is, how do you know it's time? All right. So the direct answer to that question is, it depends on your dog, their situation, and you and your situation. And if you're absolutely not sure, your best bet is to contact your vet, who hopefully has had a relationship with your dog their whole life or most of their life, and can guide you in that answer. All right. Now, there are other situations that are very cut and dry. Let's say, you have a dog who has hemangiosarcoma, and you know it, and now all of a sudden they're hemorrhaging internally. Well, then it's time to say goodbye. There are definitely situations like that where it's just very, very cut and dry. A bloat, maybe another one. You have a 12, 13-year-old older German Shepherd. All of a sudden they're bloating. In my mind, I'm saying goodbye at that point, because we only did one bloat surgery. That was Woody. That was thousands of dollars. He ended up, with degenerative myelopathy, which we didn't know at the time, but that's what that was. And his DM, he never fully recovered from that bloat surgery. His quality of life diminished after that bloat surgery, and I was actually very grateful to have the additional time with him, but I was sorry that I put him through that, and that he basically, ended up, I don't want to say suffering, but his quality of life was not great after that. So bloat is another one that if we have a resident come through here and they're 10, 11, 12 years old or older, and they bloat, we say goodbye at that point. We've also had testing done to determine what has caused the bloat. And in more instances than not, for the older German Shepherds of Woody's place, it was an underlying cancer that we weren't aware of. So we say goodbye. We say goodbye. That's a definite, it's time to say goodbye. So there are times that it's very cut and dry, and other times it's a slippery question. And again, it depends on you, the dog, and the situation. All right, folks, I hope this helps. That's all I have for you today. Listen, I'm asking you, please, if you're listening to this podcast, please give us a rating, a thumbs up, a like. And I say we because there are people who help me produce this and put it together. So give us a thumbs up, a rating. Please share it, download it. Let others know about it, because it's not a popularity contest, but we are really, really trying to help owners, parents of older German Shepherds and older dogs in general. With answers to questions like, how do I know when it's time? All right, folks, until next time, be well.